Welcome to TG Talk, where we talk to the generation about reaching the world for Christ. Welcome back to the program here today. I'm Bobby Bosler, and I'm very excited to be with you again and to continue our series through Paul's his discussion, his encounters with the Philippians. And before we get to that, I just wanted to give a brief update. Last time I checked, our gospel video for our Let's Go Viral campaign has exceeded 7,000 views over the various social media platforms that we've given it. I appreciate you all praying and gathering together to pray. I have gotten a number of emails about interest in the Zoom prayer meeting. I'll be hopefully communicating with you within the week about a time when we can do that. I also am going to be working on the second gospel video here. Like I've said, I've gotten some things started. But I should be actually driving here in the next couple of days and transporting my family from where we're currently at to where we're going next. I'd appreciate your prayers for that, as it's tornado season down here. But anyway, what I want to do now is I want to continue our study. Last time we were together, we looked in Philippians chapter 2 at the example of Timothy, and I pointed out the fact that Timothy was actually exemplifying the attitude, the mindset that Paul wanted the Philippians themselves to have. Because you see, as we've been discussing, Paul in his confinement was passionate about seeing the gospel go forward. He wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about the good of those around him and thinking about the will of Jesus. And that's exactly what he wanted the Philippians to do. He wanted them to live for the gospel, which required not focusing exclusively on their own needs, but focusing on the needs of others, because that's the only way that we'll win the world to Christ as we hold forth the word of life. And he says, I want to send Timothy to you here soon. And Timothy's the only one that I could count on, in essence, to have that perspective, because everyone else, well, I could tell it would have been going a little bit too far for them to be able to pick up this mission. But not Timothy. And that's really what we're going to be looking at here. In verse number 22, here it says, But ye know the proof of him, that as a son with the Father, he hath served with me in the gospel. Him therefore I hope to send presently, so soon as I shall see how it will go with me. But I trust in the Lord that I also myself shall come shortly. Now, again, there's a number of things happening here, but he's concluding this brief section, this brief vignette on Timothy and why Paul was going to be sending him to the Philippians here. And what he says here is, again, just remember, he just got through saying, Timothy, there's no one like Timothy. Timothy was unlike anybody else who's here in Rome at my disposal. Timothy is someone who I could count on to not live for himself, but to live for others. In fact, to drop absolutely everything and to travel all the way to you there in Philippi. I knew Timothy would do it, because Timothy was all about doing whatever Jesus wanted him to do. Now, in verse 22, he says, But ye know the proof of him. And here it's very important to understand that Paul at this point is referencing not what the Philippians had heard about Timothy, or not what Timothy had said to them, or not even what Paul was telling the Philippians about Timothy. He was saying, you know. And you know, the reason why he could say, you know, is because the Philippians had met Timothy. The Philippians had personally observed the actions and motivations and passions of Timothy. The word here for proof is the idea that this thing was put to the test and it was found to be passing the test. And so the Philippians, they had personally scrutinized, they had personally tested, you can say, Timothy. And guess what? Timothy passed with flying colors. And he says here why it is that the Philippians were fully aware of Timothy's testimony and the fact that he would do this job, that as a son with the Father, he hath served with me in the gospel. You see, it was not just the reputation that had preceded Timothy. The Philippians had personally seen Timothy's zeal for the cause. Now here, I just want to say this. This was not just the Philippians observing the obedience of Timothy to his mentor. This is the Philippians personally observing the cause that had been burned into the heart of Timothy. The analogy here that Paul gives is, as a son with the Father, he served with me in the gospel. And in other words here, he's kind of almost bringing up the idea of a family business. In other words, he says, Timothy isn't just doing what he's doing because he's told to do it. He's doing what he's doing because he has the heart of the Father within him. The best way I've thought about this phrase here is this. I think many of us, very likely in our lives in the past, we've done things around the house because, well, we have to, right? Mom and dad tell us to take out the garbage, and maybe dad says, I want you to mow the lawn. And in those various circumstances, we're not paying attention to the needs that are around us. In fact, we're just kind of minding our own business, doing our own thing, just kind of entertaining ourselves, or again, just thinking about our own stuff, when all of a sudden mom cries out, hey, the garbage is full. I need you to take it out to the garbage can. Okay. And we go, or maybe, okay, I wasn't even thinking about that, but sure. And regardless of your attitude, I trust you obey. Or, maybe your dad says, hey, it's the grass is getting a little long. I'm going to need you to go out and mow the lawn. I remember the first time I ever mowed the lawn. I did it because I really wanted to operate the lawnmower, and I thought that was really exciting. But then after a while, it wasn't so exciting anymore. And it was more of a chore than it was a pleasure. But in every young person's life, at least, well, not every young person, but in many young people's lives, there comes a point when they don't sit around waiting for mom to tell them that the garbage is full. When they don't sit around just waiting for dad to say, oh, the grass is getting a little bit high, we need to mow it. They're watching. They're keeping an eye on the garbage can. They're seeing that it's getting up high, and they're thinking, you know what, that garbage is going to need to be changed soon. A young person, there's a sense in which they're looking outside and they're seeing, wow, that grass is getting pretty high. Looks like I'm going to need to mow the grass soon. Or in the context of a family business, let's say you own a store, your family owns a store, and let's just say, it used to be mom and dad would say, oh, look, there's dirt on the floor, we got to sweep that up, and okay, mom and dad, and you go and sweep it up. But here's what happens when you begin to get the cause of the garbage or the grass or the store in your heart. You don't need to be told what to do. You don't need to be instructed. You see the needs, and it is you that wants to meet them. See, young people, there comes a point in our lives as we're ministering and as we're serving Jesus. Sometimes Jesus has to kind of kick us in the backside and say, hey, that person needs to be won to Christ. But young people, I also want you to recognize there can come a point when you can get the heart of Jesus in you, and you can get passionate. Yes, we follow his leadership, but you can get passionate about seeing the need and just going to meet it because it's there. It's getting the cause emblazoned in your heart. And Paul here is saying, listen, Timothy's not just going to come and follow orders. Timothy has the cause burned into his heart. You've seen it, Philippians. You saw him get up every morning and say, let's go win some people to Christ. You saw Timothy's passion for you. You saw it. And so, Philippians, just know that when he comes to minister to you, he's going to be ministering just like I would minister, not because he's following my instructions, but because he has my cause, the cause of Jesus Christ, burned into his soul. That's why he says in verse 23, him therefore I hope to send presently, so soon as I shall see how it will go with me. And he's, again, remember, Paul wasn't exactly sure whether he was going to be let out of jail or whether he was going to have his head cut off. He was pretty sure that he was going to be let go, but he wanted to make sure that he could get a clear idea of what was actually going to happen before he sent Timothy from his side to the Philippians. And in fact, in verse 24, he says, "But I trust in the Lord that I also myself shall come shortly." He says, I'm really counting on the Lord to do this, and I think he's going to do it. So what does this have to do with you and me? I trust you already see the application, but young people, don't sit around waiting for somebody to tell you to go reach people for Christ. I trust that your passion isn't so tied to the Generation podcast or TG Talks that you only do those things because I'm motivating you to do them, or because your pastor is motivating to do them, or because you've got a youth worker who's checking up on you. I trust that you will so get the cause of Jesus Christ burned into your heart that you are creatively looking for, thinking for, seeking for opportunities to win the world to Christ. Young people, I'm excited about all the opportunities that we have. It may not look like it at first glance, but if you have the heart of Jesus beating inside of you, friends, you'll see the opportunities. You'll take the opportunities. And as we surrender to the will of Jesus and depend on his power, we will turn the world upside down for Jesus Christ. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.